Good evening, everybody. I'm not here to teach, old dog to new tricks. I'm just here to show you a few tips on what you can do. Obviously, for those of you that have been on training school, you might have seen these modules, so I'm just going to do a little bit of capping and coving for you, show you a few little tricks. Then we go on to the welding. I'm sure everybody loves welding. That is probably the hardest bit about flooring, so we can move over to the welding. For this purpose of this, as everybody knows, where you used to use contact adhesive, there's smells and everything in hospitals. This is the way the future's going. Solvent-free contact adhesive. This is what I've used on our modules, and this is what we use in the Altro training schools as well. To save a bit of time, I've just moved that to one side because of obviously drying times. I did it a little bit earlier, about half an hour ago. That's all it takes, half an hour, 40 minutes. I've also applied the adhesive to the Cove former. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start and just run through, but if anybody's got any questions, please ask. I've got a pencil. I'm just going to make a mark. Whenever I'm doing this, I'm making a mark on the corner. Whenever I'm doing this, I always make a mark to show which way I'm going. I know I'm old school, but I prefer using these. Some people will do it just making a pencil mark, and then they move it around the other way and make another pencil mark, and then they will freehand. That can also be done. So some people prefer to use this. I'm going to be old school. So, quick pencil mark. Then you pick it up and you move it into that corner. Quick pencil mark coming back. Where those two cross is where you're actually going to do your mitre. Now, as you can see, the shape of the Cove former here, down here, it's no good if you just go across like that. That doesn't give you a true mitre. So you have to cut down and then across, which I'm going to show you how to do. So you rest this into place, sharp knife. The first bit, you just go straight down the wall, straight down. Then you move your body round and you're looking at this corner and you're looking at where it's going to go to, and you cut straight down the mitre to the corner. Like so. As you can see, the way it's been cut. So I've cut straight and then across.
One of the questions that are just going up is how does our solvent-free contact cope on cold sites? And that's a good question. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer to go off. Obviously, it's like anything. Any acrylic type of adhesive or so on will take longer. But what you can do with the Ardex one is not too hot. You're not trying to burn it, but you can use a little bit of warm air over the top to speed it up if you need to, and it won't affect the adhesive. Okay. Can it be used on a heated floor? Yeah, no issues, they're all fine with underfloor heating as long as it's been commissioned. Obviously, common sense, the floor's been commissioned and then switched off 48 hours before you start the installation. Sorry, Rob, you carry on.
No, that's great. Yeah. I'm loving the questions. So, on an internal corner, what a lot of people do is they will go mitre into the corner and a mitre into the corner. We don't recommend that because on an internal corner, if you've got two mitres, there's always a weak spot in the corner here. There's always a weak spot. So with this weak spot, because you're going to be introducing heat with the welder, that will just open up. So what we prefer to do is fit one square into the corner and then cut the other one into it, which I'm going to show you how to do. So the first one goes in nice and square. You've obviously got your mark where you're going to go. So again, you are doing exactly the same. Just remove that to make it easier. You put this into place. you've got your pencil marks. So the first thing you're going to do is cut straight down the wall. Then you angle your body so as you're looking straight at the corner, and you go down and straight out. So where you're going to be. Okay, and you end up with your mitre. You put this one in first, and then this one will go in second and goes onto it like this. Okay? The next thing, because you've cut this mitre there like that, you can move that straight back into that corner. It's already cut. You don't have to do anything. But I don't know if you can see from there, but there is a little bit of a lip. There's a little bit of a lip in here. So just showing you on the camera a bit closer here. Can you see this lip? So what I'm going to do is I am going to remove this lip here. So I am just taking the smallest amount off. Never struggle with this. If you start to struggle, your blade is blunt. So you just need to take a little bit at a time. Okay, and then you will end up just losing it off.
So it's just like chamfering the back.
Yeah, just chamfering the back. Okay, cool. And that will sit straight into that corner, and it sits nice and flush. With the Cove former, if you just make a little mark and then you cut through once, that's all you need to do. No more 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. You cut through once, you bend, and then you twist. Done. Okay, very, very easy to cut. Put that into position like this, and it's done. Okay, now as a lot of you can see here, on this very end here is a little mouse hole. Yeah, you can see the one on the other side. If there is a very small architrave like this, you can still see the hole. Yeah, so it's no good fitting the Altro flooring like we've done on this side, because you can still see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a reducer on this piece. This is called a self-reducer. Now, there are loads and loads of different ways of doing this, so I'm just going to show you a way of doing it. So normally, whatever the distance is up, the distance will be this way. So the further you go up the wall, the further you will come back.
Okay.
So just roughly that by that. You don't need to get a tape measure out. It's not inch perfect. So with your pencil, you will look at that and you will go, okay, it's about there. So you make your mark. You remove this, and then halfway between there and there, you make another mark. Okay? Then with your straight edge, you will then cut from the middle to that corner. Now this you've got to be very careful with. Just to the middle, the first cut, not too much pressure. Just get a little bit harder, and a little bit harder, and then you're through. Then do again the same on the other side. You go from the middle to the outside edge. Now this you've got to be very careful, because you could slip with that little sliver. So always remember to be wearing gloves and keep control of the knife. I see so many people using knives like this. Oh, I don't want to cut myself, so they're too far away. Bring your hand down close to the blade. It's always safer.
I think I'll agree when I was teaching in a college and stuff like that. Most of the injuries were caught by the students not having sharp blades.
Yes.
So we're trying to do it with a blunt blade. I think that's where most of the accidents occur. But blades are cheap enough now.
Yeah.
To have a stack.
I know it sounds stupid, but it's always better to cut yourself with a sharp blade. You don't feel it.
I beg to differ there.
So, as you can see there, that piece comes out. That is rubbish. And then you have like a fish towel. Now these two need to go together. But as you can see, there's resistance there. So what we do is we relieve the resistance by cutting there and again there on both sides. So putting it on here, you then, leaving 5mm, it's no good going right up to where you've cut because that bit will just drop off. So leaving 5mm and digging the knife in, and with this hand, just turning the blade. And it's leaving your knife safe. Again, show you again. Put your knife in, push down, and just turn the cove former. And the blade is safe. Okay? And then we have our little fishy.
It's quite interesting. That's quite a nice little tip.
You put it into the corner where you start off. The bottom one then goes in like this, and the top one then comes down to it like this. Okay, and as you can see, when that is there like that, you can see the mouse hole on this side, but on this side the Altro tucks down. And with the Altro products, because of the backing and the way it's made, it is designed to do this. It is three-dimensional. And I'm going to show you a way to fit that with a little bit of persuasion and a cut at the top. That will go down very tight there. And I will show you the difference in the two sides. Okay. Now, there is another little tool on the market which I think is really good, and we are promoting these in the training school. This is a little Stubbi tool. You've probably heard of the Stubbi tools. They're invented by Daniel Marsh out in Australia. We use them in the training school because I think they're a great tool. It just fits in there nice. Pushes the cove former on as it fits into the gap and then grips everything. So you use it on the cove former, then once you've fitted the flooring, you can use it again.
That's a good tool.
It is really good,
Yeah.
good tool. So now with the capping. Now, sometimes you're not using capping. Sometimes there's a cap tile where there's ceramic tiles coming down and you tuck the vinyl up into the cap tile. Sometimes you use a capping strip like this, which is our C7. Very easy to use. You can tuck the vinyl underneath there. Very easy. So what we always do is always start on an internal, bend it round an external. Years ago, what we used to do was mitre that corner. Now, for those of you that are as old as me will know that that being mitred on the corner with the vinyl coming up, that mitre then breaks open and then the vinyl breaks down and the weld ends up splitting and you end up with a gaping hole. And then it needs to repair and to repair. So what we do at Altro is we tell people to bend this around the corner, and that helps protect that top and stop it from splitting. So don't bend it around the internal because you'll end up with a gap behind there. Yeah. So start from the internal and bend it round and then come back into the internal. So you need to start off with a straight edge. So make sure it's straight. Just cut it straight. Start in the corner on the internal and just rest it into place like this. Then get a pencil and put a mark on the top and down the middle where your wall is going. Okay? Just pull it straight back off. Because obviously if you put that on there and you try and bend that around, you can see that it tries to push off. There's too much resistance. So what we do is we cut a little piece out from underneath. So you slip the knife underneath and you cut a little triangle out. Being careful not to cut the top, because the top is what you see. So you're just cutting the triangle out at the back, like so. Now, when you pull that around that corner, that is going to pull very tight. So what we recommend is the flooring that you're going to fit, you cut a little square off and you just tuck that up underneath like so. Whatever flooring you're fitting, whether it be 2mm, 3mm, 4mm, you just tuck it underneath. Then you go back, you put it into the corner like this. Make sure it's nice and tight, and then bend it around the corner and along your line that you've already made along the wall, which will normally be about 100mm. And then don't forget, remove this piece. Okay? Then you have a little bit of room under there to tuck your vinyl under. When you cut this last bit off, what I see a lot of people do is struggling. That first bit is hard. That last bit is really easy. Use the blade. This is a concave blade. Use it like a saw and you can go through nice and easy and you're in total control. I've seen so many people doing this, struggling, and bang, smash the knuckles. Now, we're going to go into this corner. You could just butt that into the corner like so. I don't know if you can see that on the film, but it's not a very good fit. So what we do is we shape that the same shape as we've got here. All I do is I put my thumb onto there, get a pencil, obviously not the knife, and just draw around my thumb, just to give it a little bit of a shape. Then you put it onto the table and you cut that little shape out. So you end up with this. Can you see that? What we also do now is just remove the bottom of this. Just cut it slowly up and we end up with that. Okay? Now, hopefully, this will fit. Then you put it straight into the corner, give it a push, and then you work your way away from the corner.
That's a nice little tip, because we used to do them in black boxes to highlight that edge and then trim them off. That's quite a handy little tip. Good.
Okay, is there any questions from anybody, or is everybody happy?
All okay? Yeah, let's carry on.
Everybody's good.
Yeah.
Loving this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the vinyl in front, cut it down and fit it, and obviously put a pad out in here. Now, I say obviously, it's not always obvious to a lot of people. Why do they put a pad out? It's because when you cut this, that material will then lay down and it creates a gap. So you have to put a piece in here. Some people call it a filler piece, a pad out, whatever word you want to use. Bit of Altro we prepared earlier. All glued up, ready to go.
You're okay on that.
So just putting this on. This is exactly the same as we do in the Altro training school. We start off by doing this. We show you how to do the capping and coving on both sides, and then we show you how to do the welding, and then on the second day we then put all that into a module. So there's loads of cuts and everything that you do. So what a lot of people struggle with is bending the Altro up onto the Cove former. You don't have to worry, the strength is in the back. As you can see, the scrim is the strength. Even if you hear that noise, don't worry about it. That is just a scrim stretching, but it means that you're getting it into the Cove former, which we do have floor layers struggling to get that on there, especially when it's cold.
I'm sure a lot of people can reference that. It's nothing worse than seeing it not tucked in there.
Yeah.
Especially when they're trying to weld it when it's like that.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then, as Steve has said, there's nothing worse than trying to weld it when it's not on there. You do get some architects come along with a pencil and they're going, you can hear that, it's loose, yeah? And the only way around that is pull the flooring back off and re-glue. Again, this tool, same, pushes it in to place. And there, it's fitting. Okay? So now I'm moving away from the concave knife and onto the hook knife. Now, I don't know how much you can see from there, but it's pretty good shot from here. This wall is square, yeah? So that is a 90-degree angle, and that's a 90-degree angle. But in the real world, we all know it's not like that. That wall could be angled a bit this way or a bit that way. So in real life, we like to allow for that. So never cut straight down, because that bit is going to go to that back wall. And when it touches that back wall, there could be a gap. And if there is a gap, you're going to have to put another piece in, which is not exactly what you want to do. So what we do is we just, with Altro, you're pretty lucky because you've got all the lines. So from there, just move over about 25 mil and then draw a line up. With your knife, you then cut down that line to the top of the Cove former. You then go towards the mitre that you're going to cut. And then with your knife, you put it on the wall and you follow the edge of the wall down to the top of the Cove former there. I know that's hard for you to see, but to the top of the Cove former. Now, I'm now going to angle myself so as I'm looking at that corner, and I will cut that just a little bit big. And as you can see, that extra amount on there is giving me some to tuck into that corner. You see how close that would have been if I'd have followed that all the way down? That is representing that. That going back might have been short in that corner. So that's why we've got that extra little bit. Get this little bit of waste out the way. Now, the Cove former, the middle of the capping, the middle of the capping, you put your hook knife in, don't do it like that, bend it down, look at it, find the middle, you can see the blade, and then slowly just come along the middle.
There's nothing worse than seeing a knife mark in the top of the capping, is it? Nothing worse.
It's very hard to get rid of as well. Okay, is everybody happy with that? Now, what we can do now is, what we want to do with this is push it into place. There's a lot of resistance there. Very simple. One finger behind here, just push it down into the corner. Okay, you've got a little bit of a ruck, and this is going to be there. So, remembering, if we cut some of this waste off, remembering behind here, we've got the reducer. Just seen a question come through about, can we show butterflies on the external?
We're probably not going to.
Or V-style mitres. We're a bit short for time, but yes, that can be done. That's very easy. What I have actually got a template that I can put on there, and you do the butterflies down. I've cut a template out of a piece of white rock, but we're a bit short for time, but that can be shown. If you go on our website, there is how how to do, we don't call them butterflies, we call them alternative mitres. So if you go onto the Altro website and look for alternative mitres, it's on there and it will show you how to do it. And if you want to see it personally or me do them, if you come to our training school, I can show you. Okay, so with this, there's a little bit of resistance there. So we're going to be just cutting the vinyl down a little bit, making sure it is pressed in. Now sometimes, if it's a little bit cold on site, this is where heat comes in. And here, what we can do is crack that right down into place, like that. And there you have it. Okay, now looking in this corner, there's a big ruck there that's in my way. Get rid of it. Very simply, put your knife in and cut. Lay it flat, like this. So much easier. Now you can see what you're doing. What so many people want to do is, where do you cut? So, best thing to do is cut the height down first. So again, start very gently, pulling it back, watching what you're doing. Trying not to cut the cap in into the corner. Now I can see that corner, but there's a gap behind there. So where am I going to be putting my knife? Turn the knife over, use the back of the knife and push. Push. Just push it in. You'll know when it hits the wall. Nice and solid. Can you see that? Can you see the mark that's down there already? So that is where I'm going to cut. Again, change your blade. Always have a good blade. Don't want to cut myself, especially on live TV. So, got the blade in, then put your knife in, and you follow that mark that you just made all the way down. Now, you come to the bottom of the cove former and just come along. There's a little bit that I'm not happy with, so you just get your knife out and you just straighten that up. And there it will fit. Now, this piece here, the pad out, or whatever you want to call this, a floor layer has got artistic license. You can make this as big as or small as you want. I see so many people get out a tape measure and they measure from there out, from there out, or some people just guess it. But what you need to do with these, if you've got 5 or 6 of these in a room, they all need to be the same size. And that's why if you're working with someone else, it needs to be the same. So just say to them, I want that to come out X amount and blah, blah, blah. Now, I never use a tape. I just use my finger, because unless you've cut it off earlier, you've always got it with you. So what I do is I just reveal the bottom of the cove former like that. And then I use my finger and I just make a pencil mark and make a pencil mark. Now that is going to be the same on every mitre that I do. Unless I cut it off, of course.
Please don't cut it off.
No, not tonight. So what I'm doing down is I'm going to cut this external corner down, just following the mitre, like so. Now, you can come straight down to there and straight down to there. What we prefer, because that is going to be welded in one, it's very difficult to do a corner like this. So what I do is I come down and I put a little curve on there and come down. I have seen people put curves here and come back up. So as you do it all in one. I prefer just to go down to there and then do that one, so it's in two. So from here, we will then be coming out. You get to the corner, put a little bit of a curve on, using your straight edge, get the two lines and cut down. Then you stop and you join this one up with it. And then remove the piece.
Someone's just asked what adhesive we've been using there, Rog.
This is what we're using, AF620.
Just on that, when we talk about adhesive, I know time's getting tight, is obviously a lot of people when they're doing wet rooms, you know, places where there's going to be lots of water. I think we had a conversation earlier today, you know, where people are washing the floors down with buckets and buckets. Would you recommend an acrylic adhesive in that, or should it be something special?
No, in wet areas like this, obviously a wet area is being called this because it's coved. So you're obviously stopping the water, the moisture from going down. If it was a skirting, that wouldn't really be classed as a wet area. So with this, we would use a two-component, a two-part lock like this one that Altro make, or any one like the two we have here that Ardex make. So this one, being the 2K, is a two-part, and this one, being a 1K, is a one-part. Did you want to add anything to this?
No, I should say, I'm conscious of time and that's all, and people's time out there. But obviously the 1K heavy duty adhesive from Ardex has got all the characteristics of epoxy. So if you are doing a wet room environment and you're spreading the main floor area, then ideally it's advisable to use that and not a normal acrylic type of adhesive. Okay, that's correct. All right. But again, if you want to know more about the Ardex flooring adhesives, please log on to the Ardex website. And all the information and the rag guide, the recommended guide and all that's there to go with them.
Now we're coming back to this, putting the piece in. Now, what I prefer to do, and this is totally personally me, I'll cut this down first. I don't know if the camera can see. Yes, you can get a good. Can you see here? It's nice and tight, and can you see on the other side what you've got? So if you did have your architrave here, there it is hidden. Another good thing with this as well is imagine there is a door that pivots on there. If you've got the co-former there, it will get to there and it will stop. So this one swings right round and in. Okay, so two good reasons why you do that. Now, putting this piece in, this is where a lot of people struggle, but I've got a big piece, so I can cut it in half. I've got two goes, just in case. Now, with this is where a lot of people struggle because they're like, oh my God, how am I going to get that in there? The easiest way to get it in there is get it in place like this, then get your pencil. You've got your finish point there, and what you're going to do is you're going to just mirror this that's coming down to about there, like this, and just draw it in with a pencil. All you do then is you cut down that line to lose that piece, and then that will go in and give you a bit more to play with. What you need to do now is you've got your pencil mark there, make your mark, and make your mark from there, and that will come down to it. And then you cut it again. There are other ways of doing it, but this is the safest way of doing it. You could put it in, have a go at it. If you mess it up, you take it out, you do it again. But this is the safest way of doing it. And then you put it into place, and it will fit. It's a little bit big there. It's exactly what I want. Loose, no use. Tight, put right. That's what my dad used to say to me years and years ago. So it's too tight. So I've got another go at it, and I can cut it in again. Again, I'm going to cut the top down, straight across, the back of the knife, tuck into the corner. Now, some people prefer to use a hook knife for this, or some people prefer to use a concave. It's entirely up to you. There's no rules, you have to do this, you have to do that. You just cut off the little bits of excess, and then there you have it in the corner. A little bit too much vinyl on the top. So then we can cut that down. A little bit too much there to get underneath the capping, and you can lose that. Okay? Now with this external, you put the knife on the wall and you cut down. With this external, you put the knife on the wall and go behind the vinyl. So in effect, you get this. Now the best way to show you that is what a lot of people do is they do the corners like this. Can everybody see that? Yeah? That is going to be very hard to groove and virtually impossible to weld. So, by cutting it the way I've said, follow the wall down and then follow the wall down the other side, you will get this. Can you see that? It's like a train track all the way down. No grooving necessary. You just start the welding all the way down and you just groove out from the bottom. Okay, so that is what you're trying to achieve. So with the hook knife, follow it down, pulling this side away, watching what I'm doing, not just guessing. Follow it out slowly, slowly, slowly. And then there you have it. Now, tucking it under the cove, use a screwdriver. What I've actually done is I've got a screwdriver and I've just bent it myself. Very easy to do, just heated it up and just put a bend in it. But you can have a straight screwdriver, whatever you like. This just makes it easy. Start from the external, just lift it out and slowly feed it up underneath and along. Start from the external. Again, just pull it out. And it's going to go under a little bit easier because you've created that space. And here, just take it into the corner. What I always do then, to make sure, is I always roller this just to make sure that it's on the wall. What I would normally recommend as well, and that's entirely up to you, we normally get a lot of complaints where this starts to eventually peel away from the wall. So to avoid that, I always run a bead of clear silicone all the way around the top of that, and that helps it bond. You can't see it because it's clear, but it gives you that extra little bit of protection.